Now recognize a good chair from Jacksonville, Mr. Rutherford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Harrison, I'd like to kind of follow up on that. I know you've had some great success with the ghost tenant program. You've just talked about that. And that's clearly fraud. And I'm really glad to see your background in federal investigations, because that's what it's going to take to root out a lot of this fraud, is understanding how to manage a criminal investigation. So I really appreciate that. Can you talk a little bit, though? You mentioned the system to follow up to prevent improper payments, like the Do Not Pay program that determines eligibility, so that we're not paying contractors that we're not supposed to pay, and we're not paying tenants that we're not supposed to pay. Yet, so the ghost tenant is fraud. Not utilizing the Do Not Pay system is employee error. Now, what that makes me wonder is, going back on my law enforcement career, is how many people do we have of those that you've arrested, were any of those HUD employees who were approving these payments when they were in the Do Not Pay system, but they weren't checking it? Because that was one of the things that you alluded to in your statement, that there's not full compliance with following those checks before sending out the funds. Can you speak to that issue?
Improper payments is a concern at HUD, and a lot of our work has been targeted historically at that. And in this coming year, we're going to be focusing some of our work with improper payments, looking for fraud. As one of the professional staff put it, we're going hunting for fraud.
Yeah.
What frustrates that is when there are not internal controls in place that prevent it. Because what we do know to be true in a fraud environment is that detection is harder than prevention. Mm-hmm. So considering that as a truth at HUD, we're frustrated by the lack of available data, the lack of data infrastructure that allows for a more efficient examination of how dollars are being executed at HUD.
Let me follow up and ask you this. Is there, when an employee fails to use the Do Not Pay check for eligibility, are there disciplinary actions that are taken against those employees, because they're the ones that are allowing this $212 million to be paid improperly? And I wonder sometimes how much of that is them working with a fraudster to accomplish the fraud against HUD.
There's a gap between the individuals that are executing payment at HUD and then the recipient, and then even the subrecipients, and the subrecipients of the subrecipients who are actually benefiting from that funding. It's important to note that the department allowed to...
But let me stop you there. The eligibility, though, goes back to the DNP, correct?
It does, sir. And with DNP, the HUD allowed the computer match agreement to expire. This last year, they have now reconstituted that agreement, and that is promoting compliance with DNP, which most certainly is that first step towards preventing fraud, is not paying people that aren't entitled a payment.
Right. Okay, very good, thank you. I have very quickly, if you could talk about CDBG disaster relief grants, and how significant are the fraud risk in HUD's disaster recovery programs following major disasters? And is HUD making meaningful progress in strengthening data coordination and oversight? I know that with 50 states, 50 different collection methods, and all of that going on, how difficult is it for you to locate that fraud?
You've most certainly put your finger on the problem. With CDBG-DR, it changes each time there's a disaster, and that inconsistency frustrates both the monitoring by HUD and the oversight work by the OIG. We believe, and it continues to be our position, that CDBG-DR funds should be codified to promote that consistency. Ultimately, we need to simplify, streamline, and standardize the process so that monitoring is more effective, and then the oversight work that attaches to that monitoring is more effective.
Thank you. And I may be reaching out to you about, I think, a fix for that very problem. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Rutherford.